I think I'm actually gonna go rogue for this. Like that'll be funny and kind of cute.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful. Oh wait, I'm kind of thinking of switching my background.
To a dark alleyway.
No, literally.
I also just watched the beginning of the movie. I wanted to compare the scene a little bit. They did pretty good. It's like pretty similar.
You're so gorgeous. I love your little robe and your little clips. They're sort of matching. Oh, the
This
little
one
pink one.
isn't really, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. Adorable. Um, I'm Via,
I'm Katie.
live from New England.
It's
It's
Twilight
Twilight
tonight.
tonight. Bow, 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 bow.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Guys, it is like literally 8:30 p.m. at night, and we both worked a full day
Is it
today.
too late, Katie?
And
I'm being so serious with you. We can
I think
always
that
record
I
on
think
Sunday.
that we also could start because there are like two distinct parts of this book where it's like before dinner and during dinner. You know what I mean?
Okay, you know what? I think that is such a great idea, you smart, genius, beautiful girl.
Because then also Sunday we don't have to record for like an hour and a half. It'll just
Yes. Let's get into it and let's see how far we get.
yeah.
If you're new here, each week we dive into a new chapter of our book. We're currently reading Twilight by Stephenie Meyer, the first book of the Twilight Saga. Um, oh, Katie, what Twilight character best represents your week?
So I was really thinking about this today, and last week I said like I was feeling just like a vampire because I was so cold, and I'm just still so cold, guys. But I was trying to be unique, like not unique. I was trying to be fresh and new. And I'm going through some changes in my life right now, maybe potentially. And I think that I feel like all of the teenagers in this book,
Mm.
they're going through their changes, especially Bella. Obviously, we're in her head, and she's just making some crazy decisions. I'm not making crazy decisions, but I just think, you know what I mean? It's a little bit general. I was really trying to narrow it down to like a specific character, but you could maybe even be like Charlie. Like Charlie's trying to improve himself, he's trying to be a better dad. And I'm just trying to improve myself. So maybe I'll say that. You know, that's what I'm
Go.
gonna say.
That is just beautiful.
Took me a
Wow.
second to get there, but yeah. Okay, so Bia, I mean, who's your character of the week? Who do you feel like?
I wrote down initially in my notes that I felt like Edward because Edward sort of sees everybody as like dumb and stupid.
So I know why Bia feels like everyone's dumb and stupid, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if she should share with the pod.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll just
Okay.
leave it at everybody's dumb and stupid. That's sometimes that's how I felt. That's how I felt when I was taking my notes. And my other reason why I felt like Edward, this, other than today, because today I do
Yeah.
have a different person, so I'm gonna
Oh,
have two
okay.
people.
Okay.
Um, I've also been listening to a lot of albums, and it just reminds me of Edward because he just like has so much music and like all he does is listen to music. And I got a bunch of albums on eBay. So I'm excited. They're coming in really soon. They didn't come in time for the episode, so maybe
So
next time.
so you have a record player?
No, I mean just like like full CDs, like the
Oh, just like a
full.
CD. So you have a CD player. Okay.
Yes, I
Can
I
you
got a
tell me about this? Sorry.
Yes, I got no, 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 don't be sorry because I got a CD player for Christmas and I've been listening to CDs in my car. AJ gave it to me, so very
Is it
nice.
like a car CD player or like you just have a CD player on your front seat?
It's my Blaupunkt. Um and
You say that as if I should know what that is. Uh, Blau
What's
pump?
No, okay. Let me tell you the truth. What I feel like today is not so much like Edward, but rather like Emmett, which I know we haven't met him yet, on the in the book, but listen, Twilight's always on the mind. And I just remember him literally in like Breaking Dawn, he like rips out like a tree out of the ground or something, and that's how I feel. I'm just filled with rage today. There's so much like little, I'm just like,
That's really fucking funny.
and I feel like I also need a bag of hard-boiled eggs to make me feel better.
Yo, eggs are so guys, we're in the bird flu right now. If you're listening to this, I don't
We're in
know,
the bird
whenever
flu.
this gets posted, this is the time where eggs are so expensive. And everything
Uh,
sucks. Because
I fear.
I love eggs. I usually eat eggs every single morning, one or two, usually two. And I have been not eating eggs in the morning. I've been conserving. I've been having, and it's been hard. Feeling like the opposite of Emmett because I'm missing my eggs.
Mm, mm.
Well, I guess he doesn't actually eat them.
He
Okay.
doesn't eat them, but well, anyway, we're getting off track. I'll just go over a quick little last episode recap. Basically, last episode, Bella had a nightmare and she was scared. She was freaked the F out.
And the nightmare was like Edward and Jacob was a wolf and she almost they almost attacked each other. I don't know, something
And
like
Mike
that.
was there.
And Mike was there. Yeah, so Mike's just fucking annoying and he's always just there. That's just a great thing to say. He's just there.
He's just there.
We're Mike
Yeah.
haters in this house. Okay,
She
yeah,
may have
got
gotten Mike off her back, though. That was my biggest takeaway last time. And also Edward was MIA last episode. Because it was sunny. Sunny, nice sunny days. So,
my Sunny.
oh, and at the end of last episode, they drive away, right? Going to Port Angeles, which is where we are now. That is chapter 8, Port Angeles.
And Bella is very excited about this.
Oh, yes.
She says a very funny line in literally the second sentence. So Jessica drives faster, than her fucking big ass truck, which makes sense, and then faster than her father. So they make it there pretty quickly. And she says, "It had been a while since I've had a girls' night out, and the estrogen rush was invigorating." Well, I literally put a question mark. What the fuck does that mean? The estrogen rush?
It's so funny that you put a question mark because I put a little heart next to
You guys ever been with your girls and you get an estrogen rush? Look, I love the sentiment, but that is the weirdest way she could have said that, in my opinion. Look,
it.
I support it. I support it. I feel bad now that you heard it. You
No,
know what I mean?
I thought it was sweet that she was just so excited to be there, and she's such a little weirdo, so I feel like that's like her, like she views women as estrogen and men as testosterone. But maybe
That's
I'm wrong.
no, like that's such a Stephenie Meyer thing, such a Mormon thing to be like, oh, my estrogen coursing through my veins. Um, sorry, I'm not going to talk about it yet, but I do love that she was so excited about this trip. In at least in her thoughts. She's very excited about it. I feel like in the movie we get this trip and she's like not happy to be there with the girls, and I like that in the book she's happy to be there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm right there with you. It's really sweet. She says they listened to Whitey Rock song while Jessica jabbered on about the boys they hung out with. Um, and Jessica says that, they had a nice dinner with Mike and that they were going to progress to the first kiss stage. And Bella says, I smiled to myself, pleased. I think that's really sweet. Last chapter, she said to Mike, like, don't tell her I said this, but like I think it would hurt Jessica's feelings if we went on a date. And so when I read that at first, I was like, why would she say that? But I think she just like, I don't know, maybe she doesn't want the attention, or maybe she's just like, I I
What do
don't
you
know.
mean? Who?
Like
Jessica?
Bella.
Bella?
Maybe Bella doesn't want the attention from like other girls by being outwardly like, no, Mike, like, like for some reason her
Well, I
saying not to tell her, like, I was confused by, but that's last episode and I'm
well,
bringing it up.
I she doesn't want her to feel like the second choice.
Oh, wow.
I mean, imagine if a guy came up to you and was like, "Oh yeah, I asked Bella, but she said I should ask you."
You are so
I would
right.
I would feel like shit. So I think Bella's just smart and knows like just leave that part out.
You're so right.
Yeah. But I'm glad he did because I that's the thing, like this her calling it the first kiss stage uh, is very sweet to me. It's like very 16-year-old. I don't know if it is because Stephenie is a Mormon and that's what she would call it, but I like to think that it's just because they're 16 years old and that's what you would call it. And it's very endearing.
It is really endearing.
But I thought this was funny. Angela is happy to be going to the dance, but not really interested in Eric. And
Passively happy.
passively happy, that's true. And Jessica, I thought this was funny. Jessica's like trying to oh, I think we have the same note. Jess tried to get her to confess who her type was, but I interrupted with a question about dresses after a bit to spare her. Angela threw a grateful glance my way.
Angela's a lesbian.
I said, "Gay?" question mark. So we'll have to see if there's any other hints about that.
Oh, that is awesome. I
Um, yeah.
gotta look up Angela and Bella fanfic now.
You know it's out there. Every single match is out there somewhere.
Anything you can think of.
Especially now with AI, I'm sure people are putting in little horrifying combinations out there.
Horrifying.
Los Angeles is a tourist trap, more polished, more quaint than Forks, and I think I think it's cute. Jessica and Angela know it well. They've probably been going there their whole lives. And she goes straight to the department store. Jessica knows what she's there for.
This was a funny line, I thought. The dance was billed as semi-formal, and we weren't exactly sure what that meant. And I thought that was funny because very recently, well, I'm sorry, I'm taking like
You can
your,
throw me under the bus. It's okay. You know, you can say it.
well, Katie was invited to a corporate party, and what was it? Was it black tie or,
No, it was okay. So it was a soiree for
oh,
my boyfriend's work. It was like a work event, you know, end of year, end of course, I don't, a yearly, you know, whatever event. It was nice. It was beautiful. It was actually at the Museum of Science in Boston, which, if you know Boston, you know that the Museum of Science is beautiful.
that's
Um,
wonderful. I didn't know that.
you didn't know it was at the
No, no,
Museum
no. I
of
didn't know that the the freaking soiree was at the
Oh,
Museum of
I was like,
Science, you dork.
sorry. I was like, what? We've been doing there together. Um, yeah, so it was really beautiful, but it was cocktail attire and I freaked
Cocktail.
out. And I freaked out because I've been to like one wedding in my life. No, I've been to a couple weddings. I went to a gay wedding recently, but that was like it was much more casual. This was like a
It
formal.
was.
Anyway, I freaked out and I was like on my close friend story for weeks being like, guys, how do I wear? I was freaking out. So Biz making fun of me. I was gonna say, they're in disbelief that Bella has never gone to a dance. And Bella was just like, really? Oh, no, no. Jessica asked, didn't you ever go with a boyfriend or something? She goes, really? I tried to convince her not wanting to confess my dancing problems. We get it, Bella. You're
She's
clumsy.
so clumsy.
You can't dance.
I've never had a boyfriend or anything close. I didn't go out much.
Why not? Jessica demanded.
No one asked me.
She looked skeptical. People ask you out here, she reminded me, and you tell them no. But then we get kind of a bomb drop here.
Yeah. Angela says, well, except for Tyler. And Bella goes, excuse me? What did you say? Turns out, Tyler told everyone he's taking Bella to prom.
Like, okay, I know this locals were in the early 2000s, but did fucking teenage boys actually act like this? That motherfucker. I guess they do act like this. I don't know why I'm shocked, but just like That's just embarrassing. Then you're just gonna get called out for lying.
Yeah. Like you think that you can just say that you're taking somebody to prom and then they'll be like, "Oh my God, wow, he really took charge." Like, yeah, I'm gonna go.
So silly. So Bella gets really pissed. Bella's like
Yeah.
so pissed about this. She's like, she's like shaking in her boots. Okay. And she does do a great job. Oh, we also get a bomb drop of that's why Lauren doesn't like you. So I guess we do know that Lauren kind of has a crush on Tyler. And then Bella says the funniest thing ever. I ground my teeth. Do you think that if I ran him over with my truck, he would stop feeling guilty about the accident? That he might give up on making amends and call it even? She's so funny. She just wants to run people over with that truck.
She's so much more violent in the book than she is in the movie. Uh, and I know it's all in her head, but it's just so funny to really get
It's
like an
funny.
inside. Uh, and then just says if that's why he's doing this. So there's a possibility that he's not even doing it because he wants to make up for it. You know, maybe he just has a crush on her, like every freaking other boy.
Well, she's the shiny new toy. We've talked about that. It just like it just is. It's a fact of life, you know.
She says that they go into a dressing room and she sits in the low chair just inside the dressing room. Is it
So I'm
so
thinking that it is one of those big, like it has stalls, kind of like it's got two like dressing rooms with like a curtain, and then there's like a big three-way mirror here, and Bella's probably sitting out there. But also
okay.
in the movie, they kind of just have like a big dress. It's just like a big ass dressing room.
Yeah. Jess was torn between two. One long, strapless, basic black number, and the other knee length electric blue with spaghetti straps. I encouraged her to go with the blue. Why not play up the eyes? Angela chose a pale pink dress that draped around her tall frame nicely and brought out honey tints in her light brown hair. I think it's funny because I think they switched their dress colors in the movie.
Jess
Um,
wears pink, and Angela has like a light purple, like a lilac.
yeah,
They're
baby
both pretty
blue, light
though.
purple. It's really pretty.
And
Um,
I want to point out here that Bella says, I complimented them both generously and helped by returning the rejects to the Rex. The whole process was much easier and shorter than similar trip had taken with Renee. Two things here. She's being very nice. In the movie, she's not very, she's just like, oh, you look great. I just like that book Bella. I think it's just better than movie Bella. I know we hate on
I
her
agree.
sometimes. She's a little goofy. She's sometimes just like annoying, but she's got her moments, and I wish we would have seen more of that in the movies because I don't know. And then we also see that Renee is just always a handful. She's always taking fucking Belle's time up.
Bella does follow up that by saying, I guess there was something to be said for limited choices. So, limited choices in Port Angeles, I suppose. And she's trying to sort of, just cover up and say, like, oh, Renee just couldn't decide. But I feel like that is just who she is. Like, I don't
I
know.
know. I just feel like we get a bunch of little like.
I'm such a hater right now for Renee,
I
but
know we get all we always, but we always get little drops. I don't know. You're right. Maybe that wasn't. They pick out some shoes and accessories, and Bella takes this moment while Angela, or not Angela, while Jessica's kind of away to kind of quietly and subtly ask Angela about the Cullens. Angela's trying on some shoes. Bella's like, oh, they look great, blah, blah, blah. When she goes, Angela, is it normal for the Cullens? I kept my eyes on the shoes to be out of school a lot? Obviously, but this is not nonchalant. She can't be nonchalant about this. And then Angela just gives her that answer that she needs. She says, yes, when the weather is good, they go backpacking all the time, even the doctor. They're all real outdoorsy. She points out that Angela just gets fucking straight to the point.
yeah,
She,
she
you
says
know,
she didn't ask one question, let alone the hundreds that Jessica would have unleashed. I was beginning to really like Angela.
Like Angela and Bella do seem like they would be just great fucking friends.
Great fucking
So,
friends. Anyway,
so Bella
I'm
lets the
Team
mother.
Angela, I think.
Hey, we can write the fanfic ourselves. Hey, we'll turn it into a
Okay.
Age of Grey type moment, but gay.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, they were gonna go to dinner at an Italian restaurant, and this is when Bella goes to this bookstore. I feel like in the movie we get
Yes.
a bookstore moment.
She says Jess and Angela were going to take their clothes back to the car and then walk down to the bay. I told them I could meet them at the restaurant in an hour. I wanted to go look for a bookstore. They were both willing to come with me, but I encouraged them to go have fun. They didn't know how preoccupied I could get when surrounded by books. It was something I preferred to do alone. They walk away, and I wrote in the margin of my book that she's a little nerd. And then this starts a very spooky couple of pages, I would say. Well, she passes by this like witchy store and she said, I decided that was one conversation I could skip because she sees this like old lady inside and there had to be a normal bookstore in town. And I thought that was funny because I feel like a witchy store would be a place where they would have
No.
vampire books.
I thought
Um,
that was weird too, but she
yeah.
said it's full of crystals, dream catchers, and books about spiritual healing. So I don't know.
I don't know,
Maybe a
maybe
little bit too woo-woo for her, even though she's looking for a book about vampires.
I know. Maybe it was too woo-woo. She says, I meandered through the streets, which were filling up with end of the day work traffic. I hoped that I was headed towards downtown. And I just put a little exclamation point because I'm just like, this entire time, I was just so stressed out that she didn't have like a map or a phone to know where she was going. And she was just sort of going by vibes.
I mean, yeah, this she's I uh, not to victim blame because that's not what I'm doing here, but I can't imagine just like walking around not thinking about where I'm going if I don't like if
She
you're like in
doesn't
your
know.
hometown where you know where you are, yeah, you meander all you fucking want. But I don't know, she's just crazy for this. That's all. She's just a little crazy for this.
She is. She says that she wasn't paying much attention and she was wrestling with despair. I was trying so hard not to think about him and what Angela had said, and so that's what's running through her mind. And she's also thinking about, I mean, they're supposed to go to Seattle on Saturday together, and she sees a silver Volvo parked along the
Oh.
street, and she thinks to herself, stupid, unreliable vampire. I'll just leave that there.
Just like, yeah, she's like pretty sure at this point.
Yeah. I stomped along in a southerly direction towards some glass fronted shops that looked promising. But when I got to them, it was just a repair shop and a vacant space. She still had a bunch of time, so, and she said that she needed to get her mood in hand before she met back up with them. And I said, good for her, because she's emotionally responsible
Knows herself.
because of her mom.
It all goes back to her parents, particularly her mother, but a little bit her dad too. He just wasn't there, and that contributes. So Bella started to realize that she's going the wrong direction. She's kind of in an area where it just looks like it's warehouses. And she's like looping around blocks, she's turning around corners, and she's trying to find her way back to the boardwalk to meet up with Jessica and Angela.
I would just like to add that I think the visual of warehouses and like that vacant store that she saw, it's just very eerie and it really adds to like there's no life there, there's nobody around. There's not even people, leaving work. Um
And
so it just really
warehouses are like liminal spaces, and like they're just freaky, like men work there. And then speaking of men, all of a sudden, a group of four men turned around the corner I was heading for, dressed too casually to be heading home from the office, but they were too grimy to be tourists, which I thought was a very interesting description of them. Um, they weren't too much older than her. She kind of realizes this as they get closer. They were joking around, laughing it up, laughing raucously, and punching each other's arms. And she pulls a classic woman move. And she says, I scooted as far to the inside of the sidewalk as I could to give them room, walking swiftly, looking past them to the corner. Um, and then they do the inevitable. Hey there, one of them called as they passed, and he had to be talking to me since no one else was around.
Two of them sort of pause and two of them sort of slow down and they look at her and I guess I'll describe them. The closest, a heavy-set, dark-haired man in his early 20s. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. He's wearing a flannel shirt open over a dirty t-shirt, cut-off jeans, and sandals. Oh yeah, I underlined sandals because Seattle's really fucking wet. So he's got wet ass fucking feet right now.
Also, like I struggle with like wet sandals. He also they're probably like his feet are probably like hanging over the edge. He's probably touching those dirty streets. I underlined sandals and said ew. So yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, she says hello in a knee-jerk reaction. She's just trying to be polite. Classic woman.
Yeah, ain't that makes it sound like an classic woman. But they're all just being little fuckheads, like laughing behind her, being fucking creepy. And then one of them goes, "Hey, wait!" And that's when Bella keeps her head down and is just like trying to basically get away. She does say, "I could still hear them chortling behind me," which perfect, honestly, perfect fucking word for this because that's what I picture. These little fucking gross little men, you know. You could cut that out if you want. Like just like you don't have to keep that.
If I so, but just if I want, right? Because if I
Like
don't
like just
want,
don't draw attention to it maybe.
so don't make it the thumbnail picture.
Like it was actually scary. I looked like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Actually, I love that movie. I saw that. I watched that in French class in French and I bawled my eyes out. Yeah, when I was like 15. So this is like a scary chapter.
This is
We're
a
just like
scary chapter.
cracking up. I'm sorry, we're like messing up the rhythm, but guys, it's so scary. Maybe it's good.
I think it is good because it genuinely, like, it got my heart racing and I was
Me
scared.
too. Me too.
I literally, like, half of this chapter, I just have, like, sectioned off and it just says, scary. She says, I found myself on a sidewalk leading past the backs of several somber colored warehouses, each with large bay doors for unloading trucks, padlocked for the night. So she's
Mhm.
thinking about if she could go
Escape
inside of one.
routes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the whole thing with this. And I think that's why it is so creepy because it's like literally the whole time she's like, I turn my corner and I'm stuck. Like it's like fuck. I will say Miss Stephenie Meyer, she had some good writing in this. I was freaked out.
The south side of the street had no sidewalk, only a chain link fence topped with barbed wire protecting some kind of engine parts storage yard. Again, can't go over the fence. I wandered far past the part of Port Angeles that I, as a guest, was intended to see. It was getting dark, I realized.
Yeah, I really like that line where it says it's past the part where I was intended to see as a guest. I think that I like that line. That's all. She's cold. She left her jacket in the car, and then a single van passes her, which I don't know why that just like felt suspicious to me.
It really, like,
Was it the guys? Like, yeah,
I don't
okay.
know. I mean, that's immediately what she thinks, I'm sure, is like, oh my God, they got in a van and now they're following me. And then she notices that the street is completely empty. So, like I said, she's alone. There's nobody there.
And then like fucking clockwork, it seems, the sky suddenly darkened even further. So she right now is in a basically like a dark area. She doesn't know where the fuck she is, and no one is around.
And she looks over her shoulder and to look at the clouds, and she realizes with a shock that two men were walking quietly 20 feet behind her.
Two of the men from the group. And not the one who had spoken to her though, the dark-haired one, which I think is an interesting point she made because obviously that's what she would have expected is the guy who was making that contact.
Right.
Um, and then she talks about she got her purse over her shoulder, like crossbody, so that it wouldn't get snatched. And then she says, I knew exactly where my pepper spray was, still in my duffel bag under the bed, never unpacked. And I wrote next to this because she said, I knew exactly where my pepper spray was. And I wrote slay. And then I read the rest of the line, still in my duffel bag under the bed, never unpacked. And I wrote, never mind. Yeah, so
Yeah.
sucks. She's in a bad spot right now. She's thinking maybe they're gonna rob her. And then she gets this, she says, but a small, frightened voice in the back of my mind warned me that they might be something worse than thieves. Yeah. So this is like every paragraph ends with like a gut punch
Yeah.
in this section. Like this is definitely it's hard to read and it goes on for literally like 6 pages.
It was so fucking scary. She just keeps walking. She's trying to quicken up her pace and she listens intently to their quiet footsteps, which were um much too
The foot,
quiet when
sorry, I was just gonna say the footsteps were like a big thing over the next like 2 pages. I feel like she talked about the footsteps a lot.
right, because that's her only way of keeping track of where they are
Yeah.
without making it obvious that she's keeping track of where they are.
Yeah.
She says they were much too quiet when compared to the boisterous noise they had been making earlier. And didn't sound like they were speeding up. So she was like, okay, you got to breathe. You don't know that they're following you. And she just kept walking as quickly as she could without actually running. And she's like, okay, I'm going to turn right up at the like end of this block. She could hear them and they were pretty far away. A blue car turned onto the street from the south and drove quickly past me. I thought of jumping out in front of it, but I hesitated, inhibited, unsure that I was really being pursued. And then it was too late. You're so right. Every single paragraph ends with a gut punch. I'm like,
It's like crazy. And she reaches a corner and I feel like every corner is like a it's like hope, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
She says, I reached the corner, but a swift glance revealed that it was only a blind drive to the back of another building. I half turned in anticipation. I had to hurriedly correct and dash across the narrow drive back to the sidewalk. It just feels like every bit, every right at this point, she's really just like trying to find a way out, it feels like, you
And
know?
everywhere she goes, it's a dead end.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, they sound like they're further back, but she knows that they can outrun her. So, and she says, I was sure to trip and go sprawling if I tried to go any faster. She takes a quick glance and they're further away. So she's like, okay, cool. But they're both staring at her. It seemed to take forever for me to get to the corner. I kept my pace steady, the men behind me falling ever so slightly farther behind with every step. Maybe they realized they scared me and were sorry. I saw two cars going north past the intersection I was heading for, and I exhaled in relief. There would be more people around once I got off this deserted street. I skipped around the corner with a grateful sigh and skidded to a stop. The street was lined on both sides by blank, doorless, windowless walls. I could see in the distance, two intersections down, street lamps, cars, and more pedestrians, but they were all too far away, because lounging against the western building, midway down the street, were the other two men from the group, both watching with excited smiles as I froze dead on the sidewalk. I realized then that I wasn't being followed. I was being herded. Katie, I literally have chills.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's horrifying. That's so fucking scary. She pauses. It feels like an eternity. She's obviously trying to be like, what the fuck do I do? and she turns, she's darting to the other side of the road. But she just knows that it's a wasted attempt. The other two guys are basically running at her. The footsteps are louder now. And then that motherfucking dark-haired man from the beginning goes, "There you are." But he's not really talking to her. He's looking past her and he's talking to the man behind her. And a voice called out loudly from behind me. He says, "Yeah, we just took a little detour." Horrified, they're not even acknowledging her presence, which is like even more unsettling than them talking to her in a weird way. You know what I mean? It's like dehumanizing.
Yeah, very dehumanizing. And it almost feels like we took a little detour is it's hinting at her, but yeah, he's still
Picked ourselves up
nothing.
some meat.
Yep. Yeah.
Went on a little hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess she had started running. I don't know, because she says my steps had to slow now, or maybe she was just walking
Well,
really fast.
yeah, she was
Yeah,
walking
okay.
really fast and now she has nowhere to go. So she says I was closing the distance between myself and the lounging pair too quickly. I had a good loud scream and I sucked in air, preparing to use it. But my throat was so dry, I wasn't sure how much volume I could manage. This is a nightmare. This is a true.
Yeah, no, it's literally a nightmare. She can't scream because she doesn't. Yeah, it's a genuine nightmare. And she goes, "Stay away from me." I warned in a voice that was supposed to sound strong and fearless, but I was right about the dry throat. No volume.
And I also wanted to add right above that, she takes her purse off from around her neck. It's no longer crossbody, and she holds it because she's gonna, either drop it as like I don't know,
Take my money.
yeah, take my money or use it as a weapon. And yeah, he says, "Don't be like that, sugar." Or I'm sorry, I'll say it more grossly. Don't, don't be like that. Don't be
Don't
like
be like that, sugar.
Katie.
Don't be like that, sugar. She's bracing herself. She's trying to remember what little self-defense she knows. And she runs through a couple options. She says she can thrust her hand upward, hopefully breaking the nose or shoving it into the brain. Finger through the eye socket, try to hook around and pop the eye out.
That's
And
my
the standard
go-to.
need and the standard needed a groin, of course. But then obviously that voice in the back of her head is like, "Bitch, you can barely take one of them, let alone four." Which is the sad truth. Like, fight like hell. Like she says, "I wasn't going out without taking someone with me." Which, fuck yeah. I tried to swallow so I could build up a decent scream. Yeah, no, literally every end of the paragraph is like, boom.
Yeah. And this whole time, all the guys are just laughing and they're just
They're having
surrounding
a great
her.
fucking time.
Then headlights suddenly flew around the corner, a car almost hitting the stocky one, forcing him to jump back towards the sidewalk. I dove into the road. This car was going to stop or have to hit me. But the silver car unexpectedly fishtailed around, skidding to a stop with the passenger door open just a few feet from me. Get in, a furious voice commanded.
This next paragraph, y'all, she is in deep. Okay, first of all, he's hot. Yeah, he's hot. Get in. Yeah, I'm getting in.
Okay.
But I don't know, this whole chapter, I'm like, "Bella, you're not even dating this guy." Okay, she says, "It was amazing how instantaneously the choking fear vanished. Amazing how suddenly the feeling of security washed over me. Even before I was off the street, as soon as I heard his voice, I jumped into the seat, slamming the door shut behind me." Which, like, obviously, I feel like that strong emotion could be coming from being fucking rescued from a terrifying moment. So I'm not really placing much judgment on this, but she's in deep. And I thought, I get it. She's in deep.
I think both are very true because my heart was pounding from Bella being there and then having Edward get there also. Or, well, yeah,
Yeah,
it just, yeah, that pounding still continues.
yeah.
Um,
So he's spinning around. He's driving out of there very fast. He's accelerating too quickly, swerving toward the stunned men on the street. Caught a glimpse of them diving for the sidewalk as we straightened out and sped toward the harbor. Put on your seatbelt, he commanded, and I realized I was clutching the seat with both hands. I quickly obeyed. The snap as the belt connected was loud in the darkness. Yeah, he's hot.
I think it's fun that he says it in the book and she says it in the movie.
Yeah.
Fun little thing. Uh, she says he took a sharp left, racing forward, blowing through several stop signs without a pause. But I felt utterly safe and, for the moment, totally unconcerned about where we were going. I stared at his face in profound relief, relief that went beyond my sudden deliverance. Deliverance.
I was like, damn.
I studied his flawless features in the limited light, waiting for my breath to return to normal, until it occurred to me that his expression was murderously angry. Are you okay? I asked, surprised at how hoarse my voice sounded.
Are you okay? And Edward, he says, no. His tone was livid.
Before we move forward, I did write, okay, then why didn't he ask her if she was okay? Why did he just say
Hey,
no?
hey. Oh, okay.
And then we do move forward to the next line and they stop the car and he's like, oh, are you okay? And then I wrote, oh, okay, LOL.
Yeah, she also says they weren't in town anymore. So he drove the fuck out of where they're out of there.
Yeah.
That's all we know. And so after he confirms that she's all right, she says yes. He says, distract me, please. And she's a little confused. She's like, I'm sorry, what? And he says, just prattle about something unimportant until I calm down.
Fucking
Closing
so
his,
rude.
I know. Closing his eyes and pinching the bridge of his nose with his thumb and forefinger. So this bitch is like, he is like,
Just prattle about something unimportant until.
so he's so pissed off. I just like the body language here is just like, I don't know. I don't know why it makes me laugh. And then she goes, I'm gonna run over Tyler Crowley tomorrow before school. It's so funny. Just in Bia's right, in the movie, she just goes, put on your seatbelt, and then they like fight about that, which is
Yeah, yeah.
interesting, but she just explains that he's telling everyone that he's fucking taking her to prom, and she just explains again that if I almost hit him, that he'll stop trying to make up, for almost hitting her. Um,
And maybe Lauren will back off and leave her alone.
yeah.
And so she just keeps on talking. She says, I babbled on. And he said, I heard about that. He heard about the fact that Tyler was going to take her to prom. She says, you did? I asked in disbelief, my previous irritation flaring. If he's paralyzed from the neck down, he can't go to prom either, I muttered, refining my plan.
She's really stuck on the hitting him with her car. So Edward's not fazed by that though. Obviously, he's killed people, so he doesn't care. Um, Sorry, we're so giggly this episode, or at least I am. Finally, Edward opens his eyes and she goes, better? He says, not really. The tension in his car is just so funny. Not funny, it's not funny. Something terrible happened, but he's so upset. And she's the one that should be so upset. Like I know,
I know.
like I get why he's pissed. But just like take a second.
It's
And
just really funny because she really
yeah.
is just acting like
Well, she's
everything's.
also taking care of people. She takes care of her mom. She's taking care of Edward. And then she asks again, what's wrong? He says, sometimes I have a problem with my temper, Bella. And then he says, but it wouldn't be helpful for me to turn around and hunt down those. At least that's what
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm trying to convince myself. He's having a self-control moment
Yes.
somehow.
I wrote, I love a man who's in touch with his feelings, with his emotions. Like after he said that, she just goes, oh.
Because what the fuck do you say to that? The word seemed inadequate, but I couldn't think of a better response. I agree with you, Bella.
And then they're just
Oh.
sitting there in silence, and she's like, "Oh, it's like well past when I was supposed to meet with Jessica and Angela." And he starts the engine without another word, turns around smoothly, and speeds back towards town. We were under the streetlights in no time at all, still going too fast, weaving with ease through the cars, slowly cruising the boardwalk. I that just really quickly reminded me of those YouTube videos of the people, you know.
These horrifying YouTube videos
Yeah.
of them going like 100 miles an hour on a crowded highway.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
that's Edward though.
But he's like a super, he has superhuman everything. So he can
He
like also
does.
read the thoughts of all of the drivers around him. So he knows exactly what they're going to do next.
Mm, 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 mm.
But he's got like mega advantage. But yeah, you're exactly right. And then he parallel parks perfectly in a spot that looks too small, which like that's hot. Like that's hot.
That's what you get when you freaking start driving cars the moment they're invented.
Exactly. And then they arrive to the restaurant, and that's where we're gonna stop for the evening.
Um, I'll just say that the restaurant that they're going to is La Bella Italiana.
Do you really think that that's all that Stephenie Meyer could think of? La Bella Italia? I've I
It
just
has to
like
be a
I'm just
real
like
restaurant, right?
no, no. Come
Okay.
on.
Okay. Because
You think it's like it probably exists somewhere in the country. I don't think it's a real restaurant in fucking Port Angeles. But maybe it is. Maybe she did her research, which I would respect.
there is. But do you think that they changed their name to Bella Italia after Twilight?
Go to their about page.
Okay, let's see.
It does like
They seem pretty
explicitly
legit.
talk about it's well, it explicitly talks about Twilight.
Oh, it does? Where?
It says Bella's first date. It says they have a community tab and in Twilight. Okay, Bella's first date. I looked out the window to see the lights of La Bella Italia and Jess and Angela just leaving. That's what we were just at.
Oh, that's so funny.
I think that they existed before because they have a bunch of articles that say like, "Oh, Twilight helps Forks Washington beat the recession. Twilight puts small town on the map. 18
Wow.
famous 13 famous movie restaurants where you can actually go eat." So I do think it existed before.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Well, I guess we have to
Our
go.
story. Wait, they have an our story. Okay.
Yes, and that's where I was, and they didn't say anything
Well,
about.
it says established in the spring of 1996, so it was well before. Yeah, it existed before.
There you
Fuck yeah.
go.
Oh my God. And
Wow.
they use fresh ingredients from the Nia Bay,
Mm.
the Quilew, and the halibut, and well, that's beautiful.
That is so
Wow.
awesome. Well, we will have to do a little field trip to Port Angeles and eat at La Bella Italia,
I
I
would really
think.
love to go to the Pacific Northwest, just like separate of Twilight, just like in general, like, and with that. But oh, we
Yeah.
can get some really good wine. Oh, and they have coffee, so they also would make me an espresso martini.
Mm.
Martini,
Martini.
martini. Camarabella. You think they would
Camarabella.
name a drink Camarabella for us after our baby?
After our baby.
Because we got
Oh,
married. They love gay people in
they
Pacific
love.
Northwest,
That's what they say.
I think.
Well, we'll stop here for now. And I mean, for you guys, it's still going to be the same episode, but for us, it'll be 2 days later. So we'll see you in the sunshine.
Hello, hello. There we go.
Hello.
So it is 3 days later, 4 days later, 3 days
Three.
later,
When did we even last record? I don't even remember.
Thursday, and it's Sunday now.
Okay.
So
So,
we did say we were gonna start recording, guys, at 10 in the morning. It is like I don't even know what time it is. It
it's
is
almost 2 p.m.
it's 1:48 p.m. Um, so I think that's just very us. I think it's adorable. It's endearing in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's endearing. It's endearing. It's not
You used that word like last week and I can't stop saying it. Not that it's like a new word, I know what endearing means, but you used it like one time last week, and I'm saying it about everything
Mm,
now.
mm.
I don't even know if you remember that, but it was really
Yes,
impactful to me.
that's really sweet, and I'm so glad because I remember you saying like you're so right, and I was like, oh, oh,
It's a great word.
you're a great word. How has your weekend been? Should we do a
It's
quick check-in?
I feel like we just have to jump in. No, like no
Okay,
one
we
gives a
have to
fuck.
jump in. Well,
Okay, so where were we in this beautiful book that we call Twilight? I believe that
we left off and they had like just pulled over to like some place outside of town and he was like it wouldn't be a good idea for me to turn around and hunt those um and Bella realizes, oh my gosh, it's time for me to go. So he started the engine without another word, turning around smoothly and speeding back towards town. We were under the streetlights in no time at all, still going too fast. He parallel parked against the curb in a space I would have thought much too small for the Volvo, but he slid in effortlessly in one try. I looked out the window to see the lights of La Bella Italiana.
La Bella Italia.
Oh, you're right. La Bella Italia. Jess and Angela just leaving, pacing anxiously away from us.
So yeah, Bella's like, how the fuck did you know where I was gonna be? She obviously didn't say it like that, but uh, Edward's just reading people's minds.
Yeah.
He's cray cray. Sorry. So Bella is like, how did you know where? And she's just, her head is spinning. The door is opening. He's getting out of the car. And she's like, what are you doing? He says, I'm taking you to dinner. He smiled slightly, but his eyes were hard. He stepped out of the car and slammed the door. I fumbled with my seatbelt and then hurried to get out of the car as well. He was waiting for me on the sidewalk. So we're already seeing a little bit of his like quickness. So quick and
Yes,
he slides. He's already
yes.
there and he's ready for her.
The he smiled slightly, but his eyes were hard. He looks like that in the movie. Like he's like anyway, I don't know. I just for some reason I wrote that in my book and so I wanted to say it. And I thought it was so sweet that he said, "I'm taking you to dinner." Really sweet.
So he says, go stop Angela and Jessica before I have to track them down too. I don't think I could restrain myself if I ran into your other friends again.
I,
This
I
confused me.
okay, so you and I are both confused. I look up and I see your face and we look the same and it, I don't
Go.
understand what he means by restrain myself.
Well, he says he says he's gonna restrain himself if he has to run into the other friends being those pieces of shit. But I don't understand the
Oh.
first line where he says, "Go stop Jessica and Angela before I have to track them." Oh, because last time he's telling, oh, okay. Got it. Sorry, I kind of forgot. Last time he was talking about how he listened to all their voices, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I thought the other friends were like Mike and Eric, and I was like, what is his problem with Mike and Eric? But no, you mean
Okay, that just
you
took me a
yeah.
second because he's like, I don't want to have to think. He doesn't want to have
Yeah.
to go through the thoughts of everyone near him
Yeah.
to find Jessica and Angela in case he runs into those guys, I guess is
Yeah.
what he's saying. Okay. Damn, that took me a sec. Just, but that makes a lot of sense. And she runs after them. They're obviously very relieved because they didn't know where the fuck she went.
Yeah.
And then immediately they are shocked because they see Edward right behind Bella, just standing there.
Oh my
She
gosh.
says they hesitated a few feet from us. I wrote LOL next to that. I mean, I'd be shocked as fuck.
Yeah.
The hot guy, then he never goes out with anyone. He's there with Bella
Whoa. Bella. La Bella Italia.
at La Bella Italia. It's cray cray.
So Jessica says, where have you been? Her voice was suspicious. And Bella says, I got lost. And then I ran into Edward. And he says, would it be all right if I joined you? He asked in his silken, irresistible voice. I could see from their staggered expressions that he had never unleashed his talents on them before.
That's so fucking funny. And he can read their minds, so he can read every reaction that they're having to this. That is one thing about his talent, his superpower. I don't know what you want to call it. He's just got so he can hear every thought. Imagine if you flirt with someone and you can hear every thought. It would
Yeah.
suck if it went poorly, but
But then you could just, end it right there and bada bing, bada boom. And I think it is interesting because you said it, like talents or superpowers, like that's I like that she used that word because she's already in the vampire mindset. She knows that she's not human anymore. And she even played around with the superhero thing, so his superpower. It's kind of perfect. So when he asks if he can join them, let's just remember that they were leaving the restaurant. Jessica says, sure. And Angela says, actually, Bella, we ate while we were waiting. Sorry, she confessed.
there.
So Jessica she was willing to sit and have another meal with with Edward. I think truly because she wanted a tea.
Yeah, she's just curious, as
Yeah.
any normal person would be.
Yeah.
So
Because he just asked, like he just invited her basically. So she's like, yeah, 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 no problem. Yeah, 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 you could
I'd be
join us.
down. I'd be down. I get it.
Listen,
I can't blame her. That's the
mm-mm.
thing with Jessica, like, she gets a lot of hate, and some of it I'm like, yeah, she's kind of a bitch sometimes. But I get
She's just a
her.
normal girl. She's a
She's just
bitch. She's a lover. She's a fighter.
she is a lover. She's fucking obsessed with Mike, the worst guy in the book.
Just a very mediocre guy.
You're right. He's not the worst. He's just mediocre. You're so right.
I mean, compared to Edward.
Yeah, it's not hard to be mediocre. Bella's just like, oh, that's fine. I'm not hungry. Bella, eat some fucking dinner. You weigh like 110 pounds.
No, literally. She spent
Okay.
like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and then he says, I think you should eat something.
Edward's voice was low, but full of authority.
And then he looks up at Jessica, speaking a little bit louder. Do you mind if I drive Bella home tonight? That way you won't have to wait while she eats. And obviously, she's still entranced. She bites her lip and she says, no problem, I guess. And she's just trying to figure out what Bella wants. I actually respect the fuck out of that. She's a little bit of a girl's girl. A little bit here.
Yeah,
She's like trying to figure out, does Bella actually want to stay?
yeah,
Does she want to get the fuck out of there? And Bella winks at her, which I feel like is so uncharacteristic of what we get from the movie. I
yeah,
think it's so cute that she winks at her. I feel like that's such a little moment between them.
yeah.
I
Like
like that.
I feel like these three are actually friends, and in the movie they're so just there to take her mind off things, which yeah, she is there to take her mind off things, and she is obsessed with Edward and
And there are
whatever, but
moments in the book where she's like a bitch about them, or at least
yeah,
about Jessica.
yeah.
But
Mm,
I don't know. I
mm,
agree. I do think they are friends, and
yeah,
I think they're trying their best. They're all trying their best. They're all fucking high schoolers, and nothing's ever gonna be perfect.
yeah. So after she winks at Jess, she says, I wanted nothing more than to be alone with my perpetual savior. A god?
She's such a drama queen. She's such a drama queen. I love her. My perpetual savior.
So
Um,
beautiful.
and she's really excited to question him. She's gonna investigate him at this dinner.
Period.
And then Angela and Jessica head off. And Angela's like, saying goodbye. And then it says she grabbed Jessica's hand and pulled her towards the car, which I could see a little way. Oh, actually, that doesn't matter.
No, but Jessica is like, she's sort of just like,
She's just like in trance.
okay,
She has to like
yeah,
grab her, yeah. And then as they got in, Jess turned and waved, her face eager with curiosity. That's how I would be too.
yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not hungry. Like, we don't have to eat. And he says, humor me.
This page is like so choppy, I feel
It
like.
is,
It's
it
like
is
hard to
choppy.
like because a lot of it is important. I feel like there's just like a lot of context in all of this, but I'm sorry, it's just funny. We're both just like
So he goes in. Cool. He holds the door open for the restaurant and she says obviously there would be no further discussion. So they're having dinner, whether she
And
likes
and
to or not.
he and he is a polite motherfucker and he is gonna hold the door open for
Mm,
her,
mm.
because
Yeah.
as we're about to find out, I don't know, we get a lot from this conversation, and I think I really do like how the movie portrayed it. I think they did a pretty good job. And I love there's a lot of things I like about this scene. So I'm excited to like get through it and then discuss. So
Yes, yes.
um
So the restaurant's not crowded because it's the off season. The host was female, and I understood the look in her eyes as she assessed Edward. She welcomed him a little more warmly than necessary. I was surprised by how much that bothered me. She was several inches taller than I was and unnaturally blonde.
and then he's just there is sex dripping from him at all
Yeah.
times in this book. I feel like that's just like heavily implied. Like not sex because obviously he's a virgin. We don't know that yet, but like this book is just so funny because it's like so full of tension, I guess I should say.
A lot of tension.
So he says a table for two. His voice was alluring, whether he was aiming for that or not. So he doesn't even have to try, and he's just sexy. And she looks at Bella and she's just like very satisfied by my obvious ordinariness, and by the cautious no contact space Edward kept between us. So this girl's not worried about Bella being there. She's like, oh, probably like it's his sister or they're friends.
Yeah.
She took them to a big table in like the most crowded area in the restaurant. And Edward just goes, perhaps something more private. And he insisted, he was not going to take no for an answer, as we have seen so many times with Edward.
He
Um,
hands her a
and-
little tip.
oh, yes. Oh my God. He smoothly hands her a tip. And Bella makes a comment, I'd never seen anyone refuse a table except in old movies.
And I wanted to say that AJ has done this once. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, I never even considered that we could just ask for another table if the place was pretty empty, you know?
We actually, just quickly, my friend Courtney had a friend in town, and we went to dinner at this beautiful place called Barcelona. There's a
Mm.
bunch of places around the country. I'm sure people know it. It's a wine bar. And it was super crowded. They put us in this really crowded area. And like me, Lauren, Courtney, and Charlie, we're not like small people. Like we're all like over 5'6". We're all broad. And we were shoved into this tiny table. We sit down and we were immediately like, oh God, no. And basically, our friend asked the waitress if we could move, and they moved us to this like much better table. And so sometimes it is worth it.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
know. I feel like I wouldn't have said anything, but I think they obviously could tell also, like, we were not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is worth it sometimes, and it's
It is
nice.
worth it.
Yeah.
It's sweet. The hostess says, sure. She sounded as surprised as I was. She turned and led us around a partition to a small ring of booths, all of them empty. How's this? Perfect. He flashed his gleaming smile, dazzling her momentarily. Um, she shook her head, blinking. Your server will be right out. She walked away unsteadily.
This bitch is mesmerized. She can't even understand how sexy this guy is.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then Bella goes, you really shouldn't do that to people. It's hardly fair. Do what? Dazzle them like that. She's probably hyperventilating in the kitchen right now. He seemed confused. Um, this is me commenting, as if he can't fucking read her mind what that motherfucker is like, that he is like he's basking. I would be basking in it. Like I get it. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
funny. I love and obviously Bella calls him out on this. She says, "Oh, come on. You have to know the effect you have on people." He tilted his head from one side, and his head was, or and it, and his eyes were curious. I dazzle people? You
Hmm.
haven't noticed? Do you think everybody gets their way so easily? He ignored my questions. Do I dazzle you? Because she's the only fucking person who he can't read Her little mind.
And she says, frequently.
So like they're just I like that they're now just full on flirting. There's no
Yeah.
like, are they, will they, won't they? They are.
They are and they will.
So then the server arrives, her face expectant. The hostess had definitely dished behind the scenes, and this new girl didn't look disappointed. She flipped a strand of short black hair behind one ear and smiled with unnecessary warmth.
And then,
Um, Bella's gonna ask him, or I said
my name
Bella.
is Bia. Okay, Katie?
Another Bella Bia moment. Sorry guys, I can't help it. So Bia's gonna be acting some stuff out this this chapter. So
Yeah.
if you're listening, you should tune in on YouTube.
And we also have the video on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, you can watch it on Spotify as well. I don't know if Apple
Guys, I didn't
Podcasts
even know
does that.
that.
Yeah, it's a little
That's
secret for you.
crazy.
So here we
Uh,
go.
yep. You want to be Amber? I'll be. Who do you want to be?
I'll be the hostess.
Okay, you mean the
Hold on.
server?
Yeah, the server. Sorry, here I am. So I'm in between them, okay? Hello, my name is Amber, and I'll be your server tonight. What can I get you to drink? I didn't miss that she was only speaking to him. Not doing this.
Okay, so Bia will not be acting this out, which I do think is for the best, ultimately. I really appreciate the effort though, guys. We really just wanted you to tune in. Anywhere. Anywhere.
Anywhere, anyhow. We're so beautiful, so I feel like it's a shame to not. Anyway, so she's just talking to him.
And
And
he
he's just looking at Bella. He looks at her directly and he says, "I'll have a Coke. I'll have a Coke?" It sounded like a question. Two Cokes, he said. I'll be right back at that. She assured him with another unnecessary smile. But he didn't see it. He was watching me.
so there's a lot of these moments throughout this chapter. So just it's I really, that is one thing I admire about Edward is that he's committed, he's loyal, he's obsessed with her a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
It's
it goes both
it's
ways.
very sweet.
And then Bella's like, "What?" I asked when she left, and he's fixated on her face. How are you feeling? She says she's fine. And he says, "You don't feel dizzy, sick, cold? Should I?" Yeah, I'm also chuckling at her puzzled tone, as did Edward, because he's like, "Girl." He says, "Well, I'm actually waiting for you to go into shock."
His face twisted up into that perfect crooked smile.
Bella's just acting like she didn't almost just get assaulted. So I feel like
Yeah.
he's very rightfully like, "Queen, what's up?"
After he says, I'm waiting for you to go into shock, she says, I don't think that will happen. I said after I could breathe again. I've always been very good at repressing unpleasant things. He says, just the same, I'll feel better when you have some sugar and food in you. Which is funny because he's definitely thinking like scientifically, like, humans need sugar to live. Right on cue, the waitress appeared with her drinks and a basket of breadsticks. I could honestly really, really fucking use a Coke and a basket of breadsticks.
Yeah,
um,
next time we're together, we go to some fucking like Olive Garden bullshit.
mm,
We go to something. Or just like a nice restaurant with good bread.
I just remember that one time when I went to visit you in South Carolina, we went to that freaking pasta place. I love pasta so
That
much.
was a good place.
I want
Like
more.
Vapiano or something. It was really good.
I want more pasta like Chipotle style, where you go and you go, I want this, this, this. Okay.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was this, it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, guys. I used to be called Vapiano and they changed, it got bought out. It's at a different owner now, but I think they do the same thing. Anyway, really
Wow.
good. I want breadsticks now.
Me too.
So again, the waitress stands with her back to Bella as she places them on the table.
Are you ready to order? She asked Edward. Bella? He asks, She turned unwillingly towards me. I picked the first thing I saw on the menu. I'll have the mushroom ravioli. And you? She turned back to him with a smile. Nothing for me, he said. Of course not.
Bella fucking knows, y'all. I know, like, we know that, but it is just
It
like, I feel like it's like an open secret for her right now. I
it
don't
is.
know.
And it's fun. I feel like she's having fun.
Yeah.
She's just like, yes, yes, yes. All the boxes are getting checked off. Well, let me know if you change your mind. The coy smile was still in place, but he wasn't looking at her. She left dissatisfied. Drink, he ordered.
Oh, okay, Dia. Okay. You don't have to say it like that and like send chills down my
Listen,
spine.
what?
Oh my God. Okay, I will drink. Okay. Yes, mommy.
The next line she says, I sipped my soda obediently. And I underlined it. Listen, I don't know. Maybe
I get why this turned into fishy 50 Shades of
that's
Grey.
that's what I'm thinking.
Or
This
whatever the fuck.
listen, the truth is I wrote hot daddy in the in the book. Okay, that's the truth.
Bia. Oh my God.
Uh,
Scandalous.
and then she drank more deeply, surprised by how thirsty I was. Mm. I realized I finished the whole thing when he pushed his glass towards me. Thanks, I muttered, still thirsty.
Oh
Listen,
God.
I don't know.
You want me to
Like,
take over? Do you need a break? Uh,
it was just kind of crazy. I think it's really thoughtful of him to get two Cokes just because he saw her. He was like, I know this bitch thirsty. She's gonna need two Cokes. And she shivers because it's so, she just chugged two whole Cokes. And he's like, Are you cold? She goes, Oh, it's just a Coke. Don't you have a jacket? His voice was disapproving. Yes. I looked at the empty seat next to me. Oh, I left it in Jessica's car, I realized. Edward was shrugging out of his jacket. I suddenly realized that I'd never once noticed what he was wearing.
that's crazy. Do you think she got to that point in the book and she was like, damn, I never really like described what he was wearing?
He's just a
I'm not gonna go back
sexy.
though. I don't want to fix all that. I'm just gonna attribute it to him being the most sexy man alive.
I mean, yeah, so he goes, not just tonight, but ever. I couldn't seem to look away from his face. I made myself look now, focusing. He was removing a light beige leather jacket. Underneath, he wore an ivory turtleneck sweater. It fit him snugly, emphasizing how muscular his chest was.
I did not expect that outfit, if
Mm-mm.
I'm being honest with you. I literally
He,
wrote not what I expected. And
mm-mm.
that's not what he's wearing in the movie.
I mean,
Rightfully so.
yeah, it like in this picture he's wearing like a dark blue shirt. That sounds like a mafioso. Like all he needs is a gold chain, and I'm like, okay, okay, Italiano.
He's wearing an ivory turtleneck sweater. I cannot imagine him in a turtleneck. That's great, great.
That's
Awful.
so corny.
I hate it. Yeah, I'm glad they fixed that in the movie.
Yeah.
That's not what he's wearing. But he hands her the jacket, obviously. And she literally says he was interrupting her ogling. Ogling? Ogling?
Ogling?
Ogling? She's got hard eyes for him.
Yeah, her eyes are coming out like auga. She says it was cold, the way my jacket felt when I first picked it up in the morning, hanging in the drafty hallway. I shivered again. It smelled amazing. I inhaled, trying to identify the delicious scent. It didn't smell like cologne. The sleeves were too long because you're so tiny.
So tiny. That's so funny. And then he says that color blue looks lovely with your skin. So what happened to it being a light beige jacket?
He is talking about this. She's wearing like a blue shirt.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
That makes sense. I was so confused. I was like, what? You just said it was beige.
She's wearing a blue like V-neck or
Oh, of
something.
course she's
Like
wearing a V-neck. Yeah.
I thought that was so sweet. I wrote OMG. I was surprised. I looked down, flushing, of course. He pushed the bread basket towards me. Really, I'm I'm not going into shock, I protested. And in my notes I wrote, "Girl, eat the bread."
And he says you should be. A normal person would be. You don't even look shaken. He seemed unsettled. He stared into my eyes, and I saw how light his eyes were, lighter than I'd ever seen them. Golden butterscotch. She says, I feel very safe with you. Mesmerized into telling the truth. That displeased him, his alabaster brow furrowed. This is more complicated than I planned, he murmured to himself. And then finally, she picks up a breadstick and starts nibbling on it like a little rabbit. And then she's like, okay, now I gotta start questioning this motherfucker.
She makes a fun point, which I've already mentioned because I knew what the eyes meant, but she is like putting it together now. She says, "Usually you're in a better mood when your eyes are so light." I commented, trying to distract him from whatever thought had left him frowning and somber. He stared at me, stunned. What? You're crabbier when your eyes are black. I expect it then. I have a theory about that.
More theories.
Mm-hmm. More theories.
More
Mm-mm-mm.
theories.
His black eyes are his hangry eyes. I wish that my eyes changed color when I was hangry so that I would know to have some food.
And just like so other people knew,
Mm. Stay away.
calm down, give me some food, throw some nuts at me, and then I'll
Approach with snack.
approach cautiously with snack. That would be on a mug of like a millennial.
I like it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it.
It's gonna be ironic though. Ironic, I
No, no,
promise.
no, it's full. He teases her a little bit. He goes, I hope you were more creative this time. Or are you still stealing from comic books? She's like, no, well, I didn't steal it from a comic book, but I didn't come up with it on my own either. He goes, and then the waitress, comes around and Bella realizes that they had been unconsciously leaning toward each other across the table. So lovely. She sets the mushroom ravioli down and she asks Edward, "Did you change your mind? Isn't there anything I can get you?" Bella says, "I must have been imagining the double meaning in her words." Edward says no, but he asks for some more soda because she has drank everything.
Downed, down
Yeah.
two sodas.
Yeah. Um, Edward says, "You were saying
I'll tell you about it in the car if
there are conditions?"
I do have a few questions, of course.
Of course.
The waitress comes back, puts down two more Cokes, and then she just leaves and doesn't say a word.
Hmm.
I got the fucking hint.
Well, go ahead.
Why are you in Port Angeles?
He looks down, folding his large hands together slowly on the table. His eyes flickered up at me from under his lashes, a hint of a smirk on his face. Next.
But that's the easiest one.
Next.
I looked down, frustrated. I unrolled my silverware, picked up a fork, and carefully speared a ravioli. Put it in my mouth slowly, still looking down, chewing while I thought. Okay, then. Let's say hypothetically, of course, that someone could know what people are thinking. Read minds, with a few exceptions.
Just one exception, hypothetically.
All right, with one exception then. She's thrilled that he's playing along. How does that work? What are the limitations? How would that someone find someone else at exactly the right time? How would he know she was in trouble? I don't know. Sorry, she just wondered if she even was making sense.
Hypothetically?
Sure.
Well, if that's someone,
Let's call him Joe.
Joe, then, if Joe had been paying attention, the timing wouldn't have needed to be quite so exact. He shook his head, rolling his eyes. Only you could get into trouble in a town this small. You would have devastated their crime statistics for a whole decade, you know?
We were speaking of a hypothetical case, I reminded him frostily.
Yes, we were. He laughed at her with his eyes warm. I thought that was sweet. I don't know. Yes, we were. Shall we call you Jane?
How did you know?
He seemed to be wavering, torn by some internal dilemma. His eyes locked with mine, and I guess he was making the decision right then whether or not to simply tell me the truth.
You can trust me, you know. And she reaches forward and tries to touch his hand, and he slides them away. So she pulls her hand back.
So sad.
I know.
I don't know if I have a choice anymore. His voice was almost a whisper. I was wrong. You're much more observant than I give you credit for. Which, thank God that he's finally fucking saying that
I know.
because he has been so mean to her.
Yeah. And this whole time they're also like leaning in closer to each other. So it's getting very, very intense.
Hmm.
Okay, so Bella says, I thought you were always right.
I used to be. I was wrong about you on one other thing as well. You're not a magnet for accidents. That's not a broad enough classification. You're a magnet for trouble. If there's anything dangerous within a 10-mile radius, it will invariably find you.
And you put yourself into that category?
His face turned cold, expressionless, unequivocally.
I stretched my hand across the table, ignoring him when he pulled back slightly once more, to touch the back of his hand shyly with my fingertips. His skin was cold and hard, like a stone. Thank you. My voice was fervent with gratitude.
That's twice now. His face softened. Let's not try for three. Agreed? Which I drew another frowny face. It was very sad. I don't know. I just let her touch your hand, even if it is really cold,
Yeah.
please. He moves both of his hands under the table and he leans in towards her and says, I followed you to Port Angeles, he admitted, speaking in a rush. I've never tried to keep a specific person alive before, and it's much more troublesome than I would have believed. But that's probably just because it's you. Ordinary people seem to make it through the day without so many catastrophes. He paused. I wondered if it should bother me that he was following me. Instead, I felt a strange urge of pleasure. Okay, she's horny.
A surge of pleasure. She's crazy. Did you ever think that maybe my number was up the first time with the van and that you've been interfering with fate?
I said, that's so emo, Bella. And he says, that wasn't the first time. His voice was hard to hear. I stared at him in amusement, but he was looking down. Your number was up the first time I met you.
And Bella gets, she says, I get a spasm of fear at his words and the abrupt memory of his violent black glare that first day. But then she also has that overwhelming sense of safety. So there are conflicting things happening with Edward. And I get it. I think he kind of says it at one point. He's like a beautiful monster. You know, it's like you're much more likely to just come up if like a fucking, what is it, Hunchback of Notre Dame comes up and starts being a bitch to you. You're gonna be like, get the fuck away from me. But if some hot guy comes up and is like kind of a bitch to you, you're like, maybe he's flirting. So I don't
You're
know.
so real for that. You're so real for that.
It's just like, I don't know. It's like the sex appeal, always bringing him back in.
He asks her if she remembers, and she says yes, and he says, and yet here you sit. There was a trace of disbelief in his voice. He raised one eyebrow.
And she says, yes, here I sit because of you. Because somehow you knew how to find me today.
Yeah. He pressed his lips together, staring at me through the narrowed eyes, deciding again. His eyes flashed down to my full plate and then back to me, and he says, you eat, I talk. It's harder than it should be, keeping track of you. Usually, I can find someone very easily once I've heard their mind before. I was keeping tabs on Jessica, not carefully, like I said. Only you could find trouble in Port Angeles. And at first, I didn't realize when you took off on your own. Then I realized that you weren't with her anymore. I went looking for you at the bookstore. At the bookstore, I saw in her head. I could tell you hadn't gone in and that you'd gone south, and I knew you would have to turn around soon. So I was just waiting for you, randomly searching through the thoughts of people on the street to see if anyone had noticed you so I would know where you were. I had no reason to be worried, but I was strangely anxious. He was lost in thought, staring past me, seeing things I couldn't imagine. I started to drive in circles, still listening. The sun was finally setting, and I was about to get out and follow you on foot, and then He stopped, clenching his teeth together in sudden fury. He made an effort to calm himself.
Then what?
I heard what they were thinking. Grr. He growled, his upper lip curling back slightly over his teeth. I saw your face in his mind. He leaned forward, one elbow appearing on the table, his hand covering his eyes. The movement was so swift, it startled me. It was very hard. You can't imagine how hard for me to simply take you away and leave them alive. His voice was muffled by his arm. I could have let you go with Jessica and Angela, but I was afraid if you left me alone, I would go looking for them. And she's sitting, her thoughts incoherent, and she's just leaning back against the seat and processing everything. And he still had his face in his hand, and he was as still as if he'd been carved from the stone his skin resembled. He looks up and goes, "Are you ready to go home?"
I'm ready to leave.
Overly grateful that we had the hour-long ride home together.
I wasn't ready to say goodbye to him. Oh.
The waitress appeared as if she'd been called or watching.
Or someone was listening. Well, that's
Hmm.
what I mean, because every time like, whenever he was like, oh, we're gonna get some drinks and, food in you, she walked up with the breadsticks and the drinks. And then
Yeah.
I feel like he's reading her mind and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go over to their table. And then he asks that. So it's like perfect timing. That was my guess.
You are so freaking right. I think you're so right about that. Because I wasn't even, I was just like, oh, that's like freaky. Like, what if the
I
waitress was
just feel
listening?
like,
But she wasn't. It's definitely Edward.
and I feel like this whole chapter is about like his mind reading and Bella
Yeah.
figuring it out. So that's why I'm like, there's just so many hints in here about it. That was my like just my mindset while I was reading this, because I was like, well, they're talking so much about it, it's on my mind.
Shoo. Okay, okay. She comes over and she asks Edward, "How we doing?" He says, "We're ready for the check, thank you." His voice was quiet, rougher, still reflecting the strain of our conversation. It seemed to muddle her. He looked up, waiting. Sure, here you go." He already has a bill in his hand. He slips it into the folder, hands it right back to her. No change, and then he stands up and Bella awkwardly scrambles to her feet. He didn't look away from me as he thanked her. I suppressed a smile. He walked close behind me to the door, still careful not to touch me. I remember what Jessica had said about her relationship with Mike, how they were almost to the first kiss stage. I sighed. Edward seemed to hear me, and he looked down curiously. I looked at the sidewalk, grateful that he didn't seem able to know what I was thinking. He opened the passenger door, holding it for me as I stepped in, shutting it softly behind me.
She watches him again and sees how gracefully he gets, around the car and into the car. Again, just we're seeing the difference of her being this clumsy, awkward human, and him obviously being graceful and fast and like that because he's a fucking vampire. And she says, I probably should have been used to that by now, but I wasn't. I had a feeling Edward wasn't the kind of person anyone got used to.
Mm, 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 mm.
And he starts the engine. He puts the heater on high, and she says she was warm in his jacket, though, breathing in the scent of it when I thought he couldn't see. And one last line for you, Bia.
And the final line of this chapter is now, he said significantly, it's your turn.
Crazy.
So I guess the next chapter will be them chatting again and again. So we'll get
I
ready
think the
to.
next chapter is going to be Sparkly Edward chapter, no? Like
Ooh.
in the woods. Like, because
Hey,
the
just
next,
perhaps.
I mean, looking ahead, the next chapter is called Theory. So
Right.
we know that she's had a lot of theories.
Right. Wow. I really like this chapter. I thought it was so wonderful. I really like that we broke it up because it is two distinct sections, and the first part of it is so scary.
Yeah.
And
And
the
that
second
last
part is
bit.
so hot.
It's a hot, but it's also that was a slog. A lot of dialogue. I also really liked the part with the server. I
Mm,
think we really get to see how, well, obviously I like the whole restaurant scene because we get to see Edward just I feel like we saw so much of his mind reading and how he uses it to his advantage, like I was saying, like where he can just hear everyone's fucking thoughts, so he can predict what's gonna happen next, and there's a lot going on for him up there. But I also really liked how he was just very much like, I don't give a fuck about this hot server. I don't care about her. I like my little ordinary girl whose mind I can't read.
There you go. I'm just an ordinary
I was
girl, sometimes so crazy.
I get scared of feeling hurt. Yeah, that's so Bella
Beautiful.
all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, final thoughts. I wrote some things down. Number one, this chapter is very scary.
Very scary. We
Oh, actually, sorry. My final thought is that Angela is a real one.
mm,
She, hands down, I think their relationship is really fun and wonderful.
I agree.
And she might be gay, but
We need to see if we get any more of that.
we need to, I'm projecting onto
I'm
her.
curious. Yeah. Very curious. She also might just be like, damn, I live in a town with 200 high school students and I'm not interested in a single fucking one of them. So
Yeah. Angela's gonna thrive in college.
Angela's gonna do so well. Angela's gonna be like a nice like therapist or something. I don't know.
Mm.
She just seems like a nice listener.
Stephenie Meyer, if you're listening, can we get a book on Angela?
Maybe we write the book on Angela.
Well, what are your final thoughts, Katie? Any?
I think I I get it a little bit, Bella. Like maybe not as obsessive as she maybe is, but like he's handsome. He rescued her from assault. And he's obsessed with her too. So I think I get it. Like
Yeah.
as much as I want to hate, if I was a 16-year-old and the hottest guy in school took a special interest in me, and even if and also was kind of mean to me, I think I would still be into it
Yeah.
and would also be obsessed with him. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where yeah,
I'm
I
with you there.
I think Bella just needs like an adult woman in her life that would give her some guidance, but unfortunately her mom's not there for her and she's making some crazy decisions
Oh,
romantically.
Bella.
But yeah, I mean that's not really I guess yeah, my final thoughts are just I get it because he's hot. Eat,
It's
drink,
beautiful.
feeding me breadsticks and Diet Coke. I don't like Coke, but like a nice Sprite.
Mm.
Yeah, that would get me going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. Well, thank you, Katie.
maybe the bar is low. Sorry, like I don't know.
Sprite and breadsticks.
But hey, when my boyfriend feeds me, I know that I'm like, damn, I got lucky. I'm like, fuck yeah, you know? So
Oh,
he brings me
yeah.
out a little plate and I'm like, yeah, I didn't have to lift a finger and I've got dinner in front of me and I'm
Dude,
like, fuck yeah.
yeah. Getting a burger at home, best burger I've ever had. Yeah.
Mm,
Just as a reminder, I'm Bia,
I'm Katie.
and this has been Twilight
Twilight
Tonight.
tonight.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, bow. Bella Tilapia. Wait.